That was 24 years ago, ladies and gentlemen, when Three Canals bust on the scene, paint the whole world blue and turn the whole world upside down to celebrate the ritual, the festival that is Juve, and to take their celebration to a whole other level. This morning, I want to welcome one of the three, Wendell Man
Yeah,
Warren,
one
is
canal in the
inside with
house.
us. And also Attila Springer, who's a cultural activist. And I mean, both of you guys are friends to the show. So good morning and welcome back to the morning show.
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
Yeah.
So we
Good
talking Juve.
morning.
We see all kind of bacchanal happen with Juve over the last few days, where Michael B. Jordan would have launched his Juve rum and all that stuff, and people up in arms. And what I really want to get into with you guys is the significance of Juve to us as a people of Trinidad and Tobago. Attila, every year you guys do the reenactment of Cambule. What does this Cambule mean for people who don't know? What does it mean in relation to Juve as we celebrate it today?
Morning, and I just want to say that the ancestors work in a very interesting way, and perhaps what happened is that the Bacchanal prompted us to really take a deeper look into why why we had such a visceral reaction to it, why we had such a visceral reaction to the use of the word Juve in that context. And as I kept pointing out to people on Twitter from the beginning, the reason why Juve have nothing really to do with carnival in that sense, which is why we celebrate the reenactment of Cambule, because Cambule comes out of the emancipation process. So people used to celebrate Cambule on the 1st of August. And because this was an opportunity for formerly enslaved Africans to speak out against the injustices of the society that they were living in, also because they were talking about the horrors of enslavement, they were also enacting their own spirituality on the streets. And for this number of reasons, the Cambule procession became a threat to the people who were in high society. It really grated on their nerves. And I mean, if you really think about it from a practical point of view, the people who would have owned people a few years before, do you think they would have been comfortable with these former enslaved peoples coming out on the street and claiming visibility and trying to claim justice and recognition for themselves? It would have been very offensive to them. And when you read the newspapers at the time, you see that really the planter class was deeply offended. They call it a relic of barbarism, all of those kinds of lovely compliments that they came up with. And the banning of the celebration of Cambule as part of the emancipation ritual and process on August the 1st is what prompted the moving of that Cambule / Juve celebration to Carnival Monday morning, right? It was a sort of trade-off that happened.
Right. Right.
And up until today, somebody still has to proclaim Carnival open in order for us to have the legal right to mask on the streets. Now, I think that this is extremely problematic because all the peoples of this country have some sort of masking ritual at some point in the year. So it's extremely difficult to live in a society which tells you that you have to get permission to mask on these 2 days that mostly do not have anything to do with most of the people's spiritual forms that exist in this space. So, all of these things are things that came up as part of the discussion of what Juve is, what it means to us. And I think that people, because we have not done the work of educating ourselves, empowering ourselves with the information, it was just such a visceral response because
and
we don't know the dates of emancipation. Our children don't know these things. You don't know that things were banned. Anything.
It was a very emotional response, is what you're saying. Everybody was reacting based on emotion and based on what they connect to Juve themselves without knowing all of the details involved. Wendell,
Exactly.
as somebody who has been involved in Juve for over 20 years, what is the Juve, that Juve band, that procession, the paint, all of that, what does that signify to you guys, and how do you, what is the message? What is the message? What is the meaning? What is the purpose of the Juve?
All right. Well, yes, we have been involved in Juve specifically for the last 27 years.
Mm-hmm.
27 years. Um, I personally was baptized in Juve at the age of 9, growing up in Belmont, thrown into this orgy of mud and rum and bacchanal, and I was hooked. I was intoxicated. I couldn't. I wanted more. Of course, I couldn't have more because my mother particularly was not allowing me to have more. My
Right.
uncle and father, and they were quite willing. But having gotten into Juve as an adult and feeling whatever that Juve feeling is, which is indescribable, really, um, the decision to make a Juve band forced us to try and figure out what is this thing that we doing? What is this thing that we're a part of? And this is where Tilla's point about education is so crucial, because we didn't assume that even though we've been doing it, we didn't assume that we knew it. We didn't understand what it is about this time that is so special and so specific. And that led to, I mean, I had to build a library. The
Mm-hmm.
information is there. And so many people claim, oh, we don't know, we don't know, we don't know. Well, my thing is you have to want to know. You have to be curious. You have to overcome whatever ignorance and arrogance and whatever assumptions you may have about this thing to find out what it is. So the idea that Juve was Cambule or is Cambule was mind blowing. The idea that we have this ritual that celebrated our emancipation from enslavement and that we claimed, and Tiller, I take the opposite view with the masking and whatnot. I see that let them keep their stupid laws on the books. We will break the laws because Juve is of that. You understand? We claim this space to make this statement that our ancestors carved out a space for us to do. The other thing I want to point out too is that Juve is not exclusively Trinidadian, and we could get all up in arms about it. The people of Grenada have an equal case to get all up in arms about it, even more so because when I look at Grenada Juve as a Juve man, I am green with envy because their Juve has a potency that ours doesn't. But their Juve,
Absolutely.
when I look at what's happening with our Juve, I have to ask myself, well, these people who want to call themselves Juve practitioners, do they even know what this thing is? So for me,
Yeah.
there's a huge void there that needs to be filled. And that void has to be filled through personal responsibility. Many people say the education system and this and that. The education system is not going to teach us about that. They ought to be, and they ought to be forced to. Just like how we make a noise and Michael B. Jordan had to come and say, sorry, I didn't realize I was messing with this thing that's so precious to you. I took heart from the visceral reaction that people had to this thing. The idea that somebody had the temerity to trademark Juve, and then in the trademark say it have no translation in English or some kind of stupidness. So those are these things that I'm not into IP and
No meaning in a foreign language.
no meaning in a foreign language. These are the things that I take issue with. And all of that is a heady combination of ignorance and ignorance, as in you just don't want to know. And I tell you personally, we had to go digging deep. And we've put those things in our songs over the years. We've put those things in our work over the years. We've told those stories over the years. It's not like if nobody been telling those stories. I take strong objection to that stupidness.
Yeah.
I think that there are people out here who are doing the work, trying to bring the information forward, and for one reason or the other, it's falling on deaf ears. So I see this as a call to action, a call to valuation of what it is that we have. What is this thing? Try to understand it. Then we can start talking about how we could trademark this part of it or commercialize that part of it or whatever.
So what happens in the meantime then? Do we just continue to get up in arms until we understand it properly to be able to get to the trademark stage?
So the only reason we get up in arms is because somebody was both facing up to step in the thing.
Right.
What we have to do now is say, well, what is this thing? This thing that means so much to me, this thing that is not fun. Juve is not fun. I maintain that. It's not FUN. Yeah, it's a ritual reenactment of our emancipation from enslavement. It had a form from jump. It had a form. It had a ritualistic form. That's what Tiller and they do every single year. Recreate that ritual. What we do every single day is recreate that ritual, not in the same form that it happened in 1881, but with the same spirit.
That it takes on for today.
Absolutely.
Yeah. to the application of the Spirit in the world as it is today. I want to thank both of you all for joining us this morning and for sharing this knowledge on Juve. And we're going to continue learning about it. I think that is a very important part of it. If we continue to learn about it and continue to teach about it, then we will make sure that we end up in a better situation going forward. I want to thank you both, Wendell and Warren.
It behoves us, it behoves us to know about it, because right now I see somebody say Juve is eye-opening and all kind of thing. There's no eye-opening, it's Juve.
Thank you very much, Wanda. Thank you very much, Attila, for joining us this morning.
Support. We need to have institutional support. We need to have visionaries. We need to have people who advocate on our behalf.
Go and get the books. Go and get the books. Read.
Yeah.
Educate yourself.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, guys. We take a quick break and come back with more Inside the Now Morning Show. Yes, get the knowledge. Get it.
Spirit, spirit, spirit.